Welcome to another real-time strategy top 10 video. Thank you for finding and clicking on this video. In this list I am going to list my personal top 10 factions in Total War Warhammer 2 as of April 2018. This list is not based on the meta, statistics or factions with the highest multiplayer win rate. This list is about my personal favourite factions. The main deciding factor for my picks in this list is how much I enjoy playing and fighting the factions in question first and foremost. I also consider how well the developers have implemented the faction's look, feel and lore from the tabletop into the game itself. This list is very individual, so your lists will definitely differ, and you will most likely not agree with my picks, but please share your own lists below. This list is just my opinion and does not belittle yours in any way. Keep an eye out for my top 10 worst factions list coming soon. The best way to do this is to subscribe to my channel by clicking the button below. I upload daily weekday gameplay videos and discuss the lore and history of the world of Warhammer Fantasy. If you enjoy, please like and let me know, and starting off this list is a DLC faction that caught my attention. Number 10. Beastmen. Out of the two Chaos type factions, I must say that the Beastmen are my favourite. They are much more unique than their Chaos Undivided brothers. I really enjoy their variety, their unit models, their horde aspect and their animations. I fully completed the Eye for an Eye campaign, I enjoyed playing them that much, and I'm not really one for mini campaigns. Truly the children of Chaos. They stick closely to their lore and history, which is always a bonus. The developers, including the Beast Paths, really help cement the place they have in these massive, twisted, evil forests, and their unique attributes to ambushes, income, and the Dark Moon events differentiate them enough from other factions to be worth playing. All these reasons are why Beastmen made my number 10. That and their sound design. Number 9. Wood Elves. Wood Elves reached my number 9, and this one was a hard choice. Wood Elves have a lot of my favourite units ever in Total War Warhammer. They have the Wild Riders, the Tree Lord Ancient and the Forest Dragon, but they aren't my favourite to play as, so trying to weigh up the two aspects made it get to number 9 spot. I do enjoy playing the Wood Elves, but I enjoy looking at them more. I enjoy heavy static lines of infantry more than the skirmish type of gameplay. I really enjoy their little place in the world, both in the lore and the game map. This mysterious elven race hidden in this little corner of Bretonnia, who are deadly and mysterious and will steamroll you if you look at them the wrong way. I have never seen the Wood Elves wiped out by the AI, and for that reason alone, they are one of my favourite factions in the game. Number 8. Norsca. As of writing this video, I still can't play as this faction in the second installment of the game, but I know they are coming very shortly. They left a lasting impression on me. This faction really gave the developers some freedom in imagining their own take on Norsca. In the tabletop they are very limited and rare faction to come up against, so seeing them come to life in the game is something I adore. They have one of the most unique rosters in the game, and a massive variety of cool looking beasties leading the charge. Most importantly, it gave the annoying Varg and Scaling some unit variety that greatly improved the game. This faction went from the one I dreaded fighting and seeing because it was so boring, to one that was a joy to fight, watch and play as. This is why they are my number 8. Number 7. The Tomb Kings. From the sands of Khemri come my number 7 pick. A very unique faction which I really do enjoy playing. They are lower on my list because some of the designs of the units I am not too fond of, but the upkeep mechanic is one of my favourites in the game. Playing as the Tomb Kings is incredibly different from any other, which makes it stand out in my mind. The crafting system and research trees are also so thematic that as a bit of a stickler for lore, it's great to see implemented in such a way that it brings the Tomb King's history and themes into life. Or death, should I say. Number 6. The Empire. Now this one is one that I was quite surprised about, one that I did not think would reach number 6, but I really do enjoy the Empire. When the game was first released, I thought they would be the most bland and generic faction to play as. I thought it would just be like playing any other Total War game. But I have enjoyed every Empire campaign I have played. They have a really strong unit roster with lots of variety. They have a massive amount of variety in their Winds of Magic too, a wizard for every type of magic. And they have a challenging starting position and a good selection of lords to play as. I've never not had fun playing as the Empire, and there is something so epic playing as a human faction standing your ground against these mythical-esque monsters and fantastical enemies. Number 5. The Dark Elves. Dark Elves landed slap bang in the middle of my list, beating any other elven faction, for one main reason. I absolutely love every single one of their infantry units. I find the High Elves a bit bland, a bit too clean, and the game doesn't really show their unstable pride very well, but the game certainly shows off the Dark Elves' murderous and bitter nature. Their faction ability and murderous prowess is an excellent representation of their bloodlust in game, and the slavery mechanic is unique to them and truly stands them out as an evil faction. Their character models are so detailed and twisted, their armour is so deadly and intimidating. Combined, it gives the Dark Elves a strong presence on the board. This is a faction that isn't ambiguous with their alliances and ways of life. They aren't neutral, they are bad. They are the baddies, and who doesn't love a good baddie? An excellent strong faction with a great representation of their lore, which is why it landed slap bang middle in my list. Number 4. The Lizardmen. The most colourful faction in the game. A faction with one of the most unique ideas, one that does not follow the typical Tolkien-esque orcs, elves and dwarves fantasy-style themed races. The Lizardmen is one of Games Workshop's most unique designs, especially when taking into account their lore and history, which also bleeds into the game. This faction is one of my favourites just because of this absolute unique feel they have and how amazing it is to field an army of dinosaurs on the battlefield. As someone who grew up with dinosaur magazines, Jurassic Park and walking with dinosaurs, there is something very nostalgic when playing this faction, one that has deep roots in my childhood. This link is definitely one of the strongest reasons why the faction reaches number 4 on my list, but that's not the only one. The animations on these units are some of the finest in Total War's history. The way they move with a sense of strength, bulk and speed and precision is something masterful, and it really makes them stand out from the marching bipedal masses you normally encounter. Lizardmen are just a joy to fight and play, and they deserve the number 4 spot on this list. Number 3. Orcs and Goblins. Now these next 3 entries were neck and neck. It was really hard to pick which spot these top 3 factions got. Just falling short are the Orcs and Goblins. They were the first faction I played as in the game. In my tabletop career, I've collected all types of greenskins. I love them. I love their humour, their rickety, rusty horde of mad barbarians. I love how they use teeth as currency and how they fight each other if they're bored. They just leak character from all aspects of their faction. The unit variety is top notch, one of the best in the game. They have some of my favourite units ever in the history of Warhammer, and the Doom Diver Catapult speaks for itself. They are great fun to play and to play against. I can't fault them. The only reason why these reached number 3 and not higher was because I enjoy playing as the others more, but only by a very small margin. They are a Warhammer classic, and there is a reason why they have stood the test of time to stay as one of the mainstay factions of the franchise for decades. Number 2. The Skaven. At number 2 is my favourite race in Warhammer of all time, which I'm sure some of you are surprised they aren't my number 1 slot. It was a very hard choice, but Skaven get to my number 2 for many reasons. They are the true horde faction of the game. Coming against Skaven is like coming up against nothing else. They have huge numbers, but low morale, so playing as them you really have to embody their whole demeanour. You have to play tricksy, cunningly and ruthlessly. I love their humour, their game mechanics, and their unit roster. I love how the models look, chittering to themselves as they prepare to charge. The mix of rickety technology and vile wizardry really sets them apart from their competition. That, and the fact that they are giant rat men. The Skaven are hard to master and have some of the most challenging starts in the game, but it is a real treat to play as them when you overcome the odds and defeat heavily armoured, better trained, better leadership units with some clever strategy and careful use. As a strategy game, this is why they got to my number 2. The only reason it lost to number 1 is because the newly tweaked food mechanic was difficult to manage on game's release, and because of my personal playstyle. Which leads us to number 1. Number 1. Dwarves. At number 1 are the Dowie. A surprise, especially to me, that they reached number 1. But it is for the biggest reason. The main way I rank these factions in this list, and that's because they are my playstyle. I adore making neat lines of infantry backed up with a lot of firepower and missiles. I enjoy watching a horde break onto my formation like water on rock and envelop them as they struggle to break through. The Dwarves are my favourite to play as. They have big hurdles to get past with no real cavalry and very slow heavy infantry, but they are some of the sturdiest and most reliable units in the game. You know, when a unit of Longbeards go into a fight, they will still be there when you go off tending to another flank. I really enjoy the Book of Grudges mechanic, as if they are mini quests to complete. I think the roster is varied enough for multiple different playstyles, and most importantly to me, they have an incredible range of artillery. Their lore seeps into the game very well, and the game's version really does give the same tone of grumbling inevitability that the lore does. The starting lords are great, and the Goblobber is just one of the funniest things to field. Dwarves are fantastic in my opinion, and when I play the game, if I'm ever stuck on who to play, it's always the Dwarves, and that is why they are my number 1. And that was my list. Remember, this was just my opinion, but please share yours below. If you enjoyed, please subscribe or like the video and let me know you did below in the comments. I will hopefully see you next time, and keep an eye out for my top 10 worst factions.